Hi there, this is Gary from Killer Off-Road Hobbies, and I'd like to welcome you to the reveal video of the Atomik V2MR two-wheel drive 1/10 scale race buggy. Now this came as a kit for $65. It was $75 to my door with shipping. It came with everything other than tires and electronics of any kind. Now, for the price, this thing was a decent kit, went together very well, other than a few quirks that I will get into in the video. But as you can see, it is a pretty good looking, somewhat solid little buggy. Now, I enjoyed putting this thing together, and do not let the price fool you. This thing is a relatively solid kit, especially only costing 75 bucks to my door. Now, underneath the body, you will find this nice, simple two-wheel drive brushless buggy layout. This does come with two motor mounting options. You can do mid or rear engine. I chose rear. Let's do this video.
Hey guys, howdy YouTube and Killer Off-Road Hobby fans. This is Gary on the mic, and we're doing the reveal video of the V2MR Atomik 10th scale two-wheel drive race buggy. Now, as I said, this is a two-wheel drive race buggy kit. I got this kit for about $65. It was about $75 to my door. It didn't come with tires, but it did come with the wing and the painted body, and it also didn't come with any of the electronics I put in it. But my experience with building this really cheap but decent kit was actually quite pleasant and went together relatively nice. I had one small issue I'll get into in a little bit, but as you can see, the finished product is actually a really decent, really low slung, nice, ready to go race buggy. This was my first race buggy kit. I enjoyed putting it together. It took me total probably 9 hours, I would say, from start to finish with paint and everything. That includes like taking the time to glue the tires and everything. It was a really easy to put together kit. The instruction manual it came with, you know, it wouldn't be for beginners, but you know, if you have any experience at all with putting together kits, it's easy, and you know, you just have a few little tiny quirks that you got to work out, or I had to work out. I don't know other experiences putting this together, but I think it looks sweet. I did it in the typical Killer Off-Road Hobbies black and red. I did get off-road tires for the rear, and I got real soft sticky clay tires for the front. I figured they might work well until I went out to the track. But we're going to talk about this and then talk about the future of it. So we'll pull the shell off here. You know, it's real nice. It was easy to cut out, easy to paint. You know, it came with the window masks. And what I did was I did do the bed liner on the inside, just one coat though, real light. And what I also did was I took this out, the battery tray hold down, and I traced the design onto a piece of paper. Then I cut it out with a X-Acto knife, and that's what I used to do these decals. Now, if you noticed on the overlook, the decals on the side, they're different and they're kind of like off and everything. I did that on purpose because this is Atomik, you know, like it just sounds like kind of destructive to me. So I did the one on the top nice and clean, and then I did the ones on the side off and kind of messy on purpose. So if you guys were like wondering about that, that's why I did that. Now I did get, originally I was going to use a different motor, an ESC in this thing, and I decided to go with the Ghoul RC 60 amp and the Ghoul RC 3300 kV 3650 motor, and then I used a JX high torque digital servo, which this servo I got in a set of 4, but it was the right color, and you know, relatively cheap, but it's got high torque, it's got decent speed. So, you know, with these little tiny tires, it's, you know, gonna do just fine. Now this kit did come with some cool stuff. Like, it has this carbon fiber battery hold down. You know, it came with aluminum threaded body shocks that give it a real nice suspension. The rear diff was one of the only things I had problems with putting this vehicle together, but other than that, it went together really, really nicely. Everything works right. Everything, you know, everything came together how it should, and it was a really fun and decent kit to build, especially for the price. You know, 65 bucks for a kit is amazing, especially a kit that actually works. Now we'll get into, I only had 2 problems with this kit, and we'll get into that now. So the rear diff, when you put it together, it's just got this screw that goes all the way through it, and it has like a T-nut or a wing nut on one side that fits in to the output cup, and it goes into those grooves on the side for like the dog bone, and that's what holds it, and then you tighten it down. Well, originally when I did it, when I put it all together and put it in the car, the screw was too long, and it was hitting one of the rear drive shafts, and it was causing a clicking sound when I would move the suspension, and then it would also stick. So you'd compress the suspension, and it would stick right there, and then it'd pop down. You know, you could push it down or whatever. And I tried backing it off, and that made the rear diff so loose that it was like having your slipper clutch with no pressure on it. It would just, the motor would spin, but the car wouldn't go anywhere. So what I did was I pulled that screw out, I shaved it down with a grinder, and I put it back in, and I had to do it twice to get it perfect, but now everything works, and as you can see, I've got full range of motion with nothing messing with it at all. You know, it's got full range of motion. So that was one little quirk, and then the second little quirk, which is not a big deal, hopefully you guys can see that, I had to trim out the spur cover because where the pinion goes, it just wasn't in the right position, and it wasn't deep enough either, so I had to trim it out. I trimmed it out a little bit more than I needed to, but you definitely have to trim that out. Even running the stock pinion, you would have had to trim it out. It just wasn't designed right. Now this kit can be ran as a rear engine car, or you can set it up as a mid-engine car. I did it rear because I was going to compare it to the Turnigy Buggy that I have, and the weight is relatively good. You know, it's heavier in the back because I put that in there, but there's no battery in it or anything. But you can set it up. It has all the stuff to set it up as a mid-engine car too. It just limits you on the battery tray, and you'll have to use shorty packs instead of one long pack. You know, that's the only difference. I set it up this way, but I could have set it up as a mid-engine car. Now, what is my plan for this? Oh, another small quirky thing before we get into that. Instead of having your standard like 12mm hexes front and rear, the front just sits on bearings with the screw to hold the bearings in for the front tires, and the rear just has the pin instead of having the hex. So that's kind of old tech, but you know, for a $65 kit, it works, you know, and there's not much you can say about it. You're not really going to have problems. This thing doesn't weigh anything, and you know, with the system I got in it, it's going to have speed and power for its size, but you know, it's not anything crazy. You know, it's not like you're going to try and run 6S with this thing or anything. Now, my plans for this thing were to build it to use to race with the guys that I joined up and started racing with. If you've seen my my last couple videos that I've posted, so I built this thing without seeing the track or without even going to the track and seeing what it was like. And you know, I don't regret getting this kit, and I don't regret building it and everything, but I found out very quickly that at that track, for sure, this thing will not work. Even if I get really decent outdoor tires on it, it's just not going to work out there. You know, it's a real loose top surface. We could take some brooms out there and kind of, you know, sweep it off or whatever, but it's just an outdoor track. And on an outdoor track, you're gonna, you know, especially somebody who's not very experienced like myself, you know, I'm gonna have to have four-wheel drive with big knobby tires. And a two-wheel drive 10 scale is just not gonna, it's not gonna cut it. So my plans with this thing is to basically just kind of sell it and use the money from selling this to hopefully help me purchase a nice four-wheel drive 8th scale instead of 10th scale, because everybody had 8th scales out there. But to get a nice four-wheel drive 8th scale actual somewhat race buggy, or an actual race buggy, because this is an actual race buggy, and I would definitely keep it if I was going to be running it on an indoor track or like a clay track or whatever, but that's just not the case, at least not for now. You know, things might change in the future if the racing series actually takes off and everything. But for right now, you know, this thing is probably just going to get sold as it is. I have tested it. I drove it down my street and back a couple times just to make sure everything worked and whatnot, and everything works fine. But I just, you know, I don't want to tear it up and then have to sell it as a used vehicle. I can sell it as a new tested vehicle right now. And one last thing, how I mounted the ESC, this had a little part that came back over that, but it was only like a millimeter, maybe 2 millimeters over the fan. So I figured it's safe there anyways, unless you have some random horrible crash where you like get a stick through there or something. I wouldn't even know how you would hit it. But I think that looks pretty cool, having the fan on top, and it's got fresh air feeding it to the ESC if you're running on 3S or whatever. So yeah, that's my reveal video of the V2MR 1/10 scale two-wheel drive Atomik Buggy. If you guys can get your hands on one of these, and this is the style of car you want, and you like doing kits, I would actually recommend this thing. It was a really nice kit, really cheap. I think with the system, servo, and tires, it's about $200 as it sits right now. So yeah, $200 for a 10 scale two-wheel drive race buggy is not bad. That's going to be it for this video. Go ahead and thumbs up if you liked it, thumbs down if you didn't. Please stay tuned to Killer Off-Road Hobbies. We got a lot more coming at you. And go ahead and subscribe if you're new to this channel, and hit that bell if you want to be notified of all my latest videos that I post. Once again, Gary from Killer Off-Road Hobbies saying, take it easy, guys. Peace.